All right. Welcome to Lunch Break with Nate. Thank you so much for being patient with me today. We said originally we were going to be between 12:30 and 1, but looks like we're a little bit late, so we're at 1 o'clock. Was on the phone with a client, so want to make sure I was giving them the time, all the best time that I had for them. So got a lot of stuff to go over today, guys. So real quick, what we'll do is we'll first kind of do our regular update on the market here. We're not going to go through each property. If you guys want to have any additional information from me, I can certainly help you out there if you guys have any additional questions. But pretty similar to what we've been seeing over the last week or so. We have 17 new listings on the market. We have pendings and under contracts are about in the 30 range or a little bit over 30. So transactions are still happening. They are still moving forward. Not as many listings as we've had, but that's sometimes a good thing. They lower the inventory, the better that people are searching, and people that want to move, they're going to move. People that are secure, they're gonna proceed forward. So real quick on that, we got 4 new ones in Henrietta. We got a couple new ones in Parenton, the town of Parenton, a couple new ones in the city, and one in Avon and one in Gates, Groveland, Livonia, Naples, Ogden, Pembroke, and Savannah. So there's still information or still listings going on. That's actually increased to 18 now. So still activity going on, which is good. So. Anybody that has any questions for me regarding that stuff, certainly let me know. So next item of business. So since we spoke last, the stimulus package came out, and I have a email here. Let me find that real quick to a really good article. And let's see here. Here we go. And make sure that I am sharing this to everybody. We'll scale that back, and we'll open up a tab on here. All right, so the New York Times FAQ had a really good article on a lot of the stuff that's in the package. And I won't go into all of it, but I wanted to kind of focus in on a couple items here. My subscription must have. Go Facebook. Let's see if we can do that as Facebook. Continue without subscribing, and maybe later. All right, FAQs on the stimulus package. So how large would the payments be? Most of you guys probably already know this, but they are going to be in the $1,200 to $1,200 range. There are tiers to that. So one of the tiers, I believe, is the 75,000 and under. Everybody under 75,000 and under is going to get the $1,200 checks. It is, if you go up to 99,000 and under, I believe that there is a stipulation in there that you would have to pay back that. So actually it talks about it right here. Above those income figures, the payments decrease until it stops altogether for single people earning 99,000 or married people who have no children earn $198,000. According to the Senate Finance Committee, family with 2 children no longer be eligible for payments if income surpasses $218,000. So interesting information there. College students get anything? No. Not everybody who claims them is dependent on their tax return. So good information for that. Anybody under 24 depends in the eyes of taxing authorities. The parent pays for at least half of their expenses. Let's see if we can go down to the, will I have to apply for the payment? No, it'll be sent into our bank accounts. When will the payments arrive? They're thinking in the next 3 weeks. If the payment doesn't come soon, how can I be sure that it wasn't misdirected? According to your bill, you will get a paper notice in the mail no longer than a few weeks after your payment has been dispersed. That notice will contain information where the payments ended up and in what form they may be. What if I haven't filed taxes recently? They will need you if you've delayed it for 2 years. They're going to need to have those filed so that they can have a copy of your Social Security number. Let's see here. I wanted to get down to the unemployment, to specifically the small business. Unemployment, small business. Student loans are going to be deferred until, this is a good question too. Student loans will be deferred until September 30th. So everybody that, I looked at my student loan recently, and there was an email that said that if I just stopped paying it, it would automatically go into forbearance. But there would be a the forbearance would not affect my credit negatively. But you can also call. I think there's also a way to make sure you're notifying them specifically that you want to go into forbearance. So that way it can, they can notate that you're in that, and then whenever that time frame is up, or I think it's right now it's indefinitely, whenever that time frame is up, they would then notify you that they're going to take it out and that you would owe whatever payments. And again, that forbearance information, that gets tacked on to the end of the loan. So retirement accounts. What was the other thing I wanted to get into here? So charitable contributions, other features of the bill. How does aid for small business and nonprofit works? Good news here, you may be eligible for forgivable loans. They have a separate article for that. So I'll post this article on the post here so we can take a look at stuff. Will there be any damage from a credit report by taking any virus-related payment relief, including student loan suspension? No. There is not supposed to be, at least the bill states, during the period from January 31st, continuing 120 days after the end of the National Emergency Declaration. Lenders and others should mark your credit file as current, even if they take advantage of the payment modification. If you had black marks on your file before the virus hit, those will remain unless you fix the issues during the credit emergency period. Let's see here. Okay, so I'll post this on there so you guys have a chance to take a look at everything. I wanted to get into a couple other items here. We have... Oh, I'm going to put an article into this feed again today for... I had a conversation with Frank Lee, who's a client of mine. He works at Strong. And he was telling me that they just I think a lot of people may have seen this already too, but they circulated a video out to all the doctors. And one of the things that they have almost definitively basically stated is that the virus is transferred from surfaces. So people that have been infected, if they put if they put their hand on a surface, the virus will stay there. And they have stated that there are varying degrees in how long it will stay on that surface. So things like gas pumps, things like surfaces at home, make sure that you're always, make sure that you are wiping that stuff off. If you go outside, maybe wear gloves, or immediately make sure that you are always have the hand sanitizer in tow and wash your hands right away. And the 99% of the transmission of the virus is going through the touching of the face. So if you touch something that's been infected, touch your face, that's how it's being transmitted. And he said 99% of the time, that's what's happening. So it's not necessarily, you still have the 6-foot rule, which if you do a sneeze or anything like that, it's going to be transmitted that way with the air droplets. But 99% of the time it's being transmitted from contact. So that's definitely fascinating. It's not airborne in the sense that it's just kind of floating out there. But it's that's how it's been transmitted, and that's what they've been reading, or they've been studying and testing over the last month or so, and also reviewing scenarios in other countries and whatnot. So definitely interesting stuff, and more data that comes out, obviously, the better, because that just helps us kind of know the definitive things to do, which I think is going to be helpful as when we open everything up. And obviously health comes first. I think that we all understand that. But also my position obviously is to make sure that I'm getting as much information out to my people, so that I know when we are ready to pull the trigger, whether it be now or when everything gets lifted. We want to make sure that I have all the correct information to make sure that everybody's being safe as we pull the trigger. So good information there. I'll put that information in the link as well. Then I had a couple other items to discuss. So don't touch your face. That's going to be a theme. So on the fun side of things, we have the projects to look at to do while you are in quarantine. So I wanted to pull up a few project pages here, and we'll go with. Oh, that's not it. That's the wrong thing. Here we go. I think you guys are seeing this. Let's see here. Yep, you guys are seeing this. So this is the best and worst home improvements for 2020. So projects with the best return. Remodeling Magazine says the projects with the best return on your dollars in 2020 are manufactured stone veneer in the front of your house. 97% return on investment. Real stone is better, but does not return as much of your money due to the high costs. New garage doors, 94% of your money back on resale. A modest kitchen remodel, you can get up to 78% of your money back if you don't go overboard. Other upgrades bringing top dollar resale time, wood deck, new front door, bonus points for trendy craftsman style front door. Wood siding replacement, window replacement, mid-range bathroom remodel, and new roof. And the reason we talk about these things is we're always thinking about resale, always making sure you guys have a plan on resale, and where that plan and where the money, where you want to make the improvements, where you don't want to make the improvements, are definitely good topics of discussion to come to me about. I do that a lot of times with sellers that are getting ready to start thinking about listing their house in the next 6 months or so. We have the preliminary conversation. We have conversations just like this on what they can do and what they won't do. What's cheaper to do that's going to get more bang for your buck, or at least make the presentation of the house that much better. I have tons of case studies on that stuff that I've talked to, that I've brought up with different sellers over the years, and they've been more than willing to kind of share those case studies with me so I can share them with other people out there. So let's get into best and worst home improvements. I didn't get into the worst home improvements here. Where was that? Worst home improvements your dollar: an upscale kitchen or master suite in a small and older house. You may only get 50% of your $50,000 to $100,000 investment, which will have you saying, doesn't that stink? Problem, you've overimproved your house based on the neighborhood. Look at what other people's on the street are doing before you invest in improvements and never recoup. So in the end, all home improvement projects are good projects if they make you happy. Again, that's something we talk about a lot. What's your 5 to 10 year plan? So 5 to 10 years, if you think back 10 years ago, we were just coming out of that housing crisis. And so even at that point, 5 to 7 years, we've gone through appreciation growth over the last 3 to 4 years up until we're at right now. Who knows if this is going to be a blip on everything. Hopefully it is, and we just continue to kind of go up. Although Rochester as a market as a whole has always been that very steady market. Historically speaking, we don't have the giant peaks and valleys that everybody else does. So one of those things is you're always constantly monitoring the market. You're always making sure you are keeping pulse of what's going on, so that when you are ready to pull the trigger, you can pull the trigger. And always have a budget in mind of what you want to install into the house. We did our kitchen, Justine and I. We have plans to do other improvements as well, and we know what that's going to cost and what we can think the appreciation may be. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict what it's going to be, but over time we can kind of see where that appreciation may be, plus whatever we've paid down on our equity for our property. So that way, if we're trying to do an upgrade into our next house, we have enough equity in that to send over to the next property. Or if it's more important for you guys to do a refinance down the road and take some cash out, or if it's something that you want to completely downsize, take some of that money, put it in the bank, take the other money, put it into the next house. So there's all kinds of ways to do it, and all kinds of I call it my free financial checkup with properties. If you guys are thinking about that in a year or so, I actually had a conversation this I think it was the end of last week with Nancy, and she had some questions. She's got a plan over the next year and a half or so to before she lists her property. We had a conversation about things she could do around the house. So anybody that has, we're all kind of stuck in our houses right now. We're watching Netflix, we're streaming stuff. We are also looking at lots of real estate, and that's kind of where the genesis of this lunchtime with Nate, lunch break with Nate idea came from, which is kind of keeping a sense of normalcy since many people are at home working from home. They still want to have that lunch break in the middle. So that's kind of where this all came from. But as you're sitting around, and kind of the theme today was remodeling and doing landscaping and things like that. It starts to get warmer this week. These are a lot of things that you can start to do now so that when we're ready to list in 6 months or 4 months or a few weeks, we can certainly have that stuff ready to go and to the best of its ability, and what you can get back on that stuff too. Couple more items to finish up here as we move forward. I am kind of out there promoting how I do showings now, because I think that's one of the biggest things on people's radar questions are how we supposed to do showings. So one of the ways, as we're moving forward with all these new milestones that we're hitting in April, and as we're hopefully curbing or stopping the curve and flattening the curve, as we're doing all that stuff, properties that are still out there need to be shown. So one of the things that we are doing is we're doing a lot more virtual showings. So virtual showings can consist of a couple different things. We can consist of the Dream Home virtual tour, which is my version of the 3D model of a property. You can take, it's great for looking at floor plans of the property. It's great for looking at 3D digital model of the property. And it's great for that street view, almost like Google Maps, where you can kind of cruise through the property. And there's little spins and stuff that I put on it too that make it that much more unique for when we're marketing the house. So that's the number one way to kind of get a sense of what the flow of the property is. Next way would be doing a virtual showing. So that way we set up a time with the seller that she or he can walk through the property, show us everything. We're kind of sitting back, kind of asking questions, telling her to go into that area over there, telling her to go into this area over here, and making sure we're looking at the block of the foundation, we're looking at the windows, we're looking at all the little things that go into to looking at houses. And again, if you guys want to look at my YouTube page, I have a couple different variations of how I do showings and how I sit down with sellers and do marketing plans. So definitely take us some time to look at that stuff. The other thing that we would do is what's called a Zoom. Many people kind of know what this is, but the Zoom meeting, which is hugely popular right now for online meetings, we would do that. We would set up a time frame for when we list the house. We would set up a time frame for 3 o'clock today. We're doing a Zoom showing. Anybody, here's the link. Jump on. We're all going to jump on together. We're going to look at the property together. So these are the tools that we're using to show the house. I also highly recommend buyers to do a drive-by of the property, because there's perception things that you need to be able to take into account. You need to be able to hear if there's a expressway a mile away or less than a mile away. If that's something that bothers you, you want to make sure that you can hear that. The smell perception. If you are down the street from a trash company and you want to make sure that you're hearing or that you can smell, that wafting in the air, you need to make sure that you have that perception, that the perception of the smell and the sight and all that good stuff. And you can only really accomplish that by driving by the house. So after you've driven by the house, after you've looked at the virtual tour stuff, and you come to me and you say, listen, we want to put an offer in this property. It's checking all the boxes off. How do we go about doing that? What we would do is we'd have the offer ready to go. And we would put in that offer that it would be subject to an in-person viewing by the buyer. So the buyer would still be able to get into the house, make sure that they look at it, everything that they've seen on the exterior, everything they've seen on the interior from the virtual stuff. It all looks amazing. It's exactly what they're looking for. They get into the house and they're decided, yep, we're ready to go. So we keep moving forward. We move on to the attorney approval. The attorney approves the contract. We do the inspection. If there's inspection involved, we do we get the mortgage started, all that stuff, and it's all subject on in-person viewing. So that way the consumer is protected and they make sure that they have that in the contract. If you get into that house and everything is completely different than what you have looked at on the virtual tour and what you've seen on the exterior, and you don't want to proceed forward, we don't proceed forward. It's as easy as that. It's subject to that. It's written in the contract. We the agent are not supposed to facilitate the showing, but we can recommend that that's what put into the contract. So that way the seller and the buyer set up a showing via email. We're CC'd in to make sure we know what's going on, but we're not actually setting anything up on our own. And you're in there and you're actually taking a look at the property. That's the best way forward that I see, that makes sure everybody's safe, everybody's environment is safe. We're all being conscious of social distancing, and that's really the best way forward. And I think it's the best way to protect everybody in a transaction, make sure that we're protected, and we're all happy and proceeding onward with our transaction. Inspectors have been designated. A lot of them have been designated as an essential piece to this puzzle, an essential employee or an essential company. And a lot of that is health related. So if you want to get an inspection, if you can't get an inspection, if you purchased a house, there could potentially be something that, a gas leak in the property that's not uncovered until an inspector walks through. There could potentially be some mold in the property that's not uncovered until the inspector goes through. So that's why they're considered an essential status. We are still working to get to petition to become essential, because I feel that we are essential, that we're highlighting a lot of these items and making sure that the transactions are going through and we're doing it safely. So we're definitely being advocates for that as realtors. The other thing that we are doing is we're making sure, we are somewhat tied to financial institutions as well within our companies. We have our mortgage companies that are attached to us. So, we're tied, we're influential. Other states are considered realtors and considered essential too. So I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to hold off on open houses, which I think open houses are probably going to go away for a little bit because of all this, because you don't want 30 people walking through your house at once. But we have systems in place that we're able to make sure we're monitoring that. So on an exciting note, I'm going to put up a trivia question. And this is going to be a trivia question for a chance to get a free $25 gift card to the Silver Iguana, which is in North Winton Village. As many of you guys know, they were quintessential in Justine and I doing our awesome quarantine karaoke a few days ago, where we had a nice a little bit of margaritas, and we started to sing our quarantine karaoke. Margaritas were awesome. Silver Iguana is a awesome restaurant right in North Winton Village. It's right around the corner from us, and we love going over there and hanging out with Jules, the bartender, who has not been there right now because she's at home taking care of her kitties. But we want to make sure we're supporting the local businesses in our area. So one of the things that I wanted to do was do a trivia question for everybody to get a chance to win this. So the first trivia question that we're going to do is, can you name the first film? Hang on. This is all going to be honor system stuff, guys. So we're going to be honor system. You can't Google it. It's going to be trivia. It's supposed to be fun. So honor system, if you want to submit the answer to me, you can Facebook message me the answer. That way I can get it. It's right on this page. Facebook message me the answer, and I'll get a pool together, and I'll do a drawing, and then I'll draw for the person who wins the $25 gift card to Silver Iguana Mexican restaurant, which is in North Winton Village, and we'll have the drawing for that by the end of the week on Friday. So this is a week-long contest supporting local businesses, and the question that I will also put into the link is, can you name the first film that was shown at the Dryden Theater? The first film that was shown at the Dryden Theater, which is connected to the Eastman House. So can you name the first film of the Dryden Theater? And that's the end of today's show. I'll put that show note into the list here. Everybody have a great week. Everybody be safe out there. Be healthy. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I will talk to you all very soon.